All right, another one I see you have on your pie chart is the central limit theorem for a sample proportion. So you're going to have three parts to this problem. The first part is finding the mean of p hat. Well, the mean of p hat ends up being the exact same thing as the mean of the proportion or the percent that's in the problem. They give you the formula that the expected value of x over n. Well, the expected value of x is n times p, so the n's cancel out, so you just get whatever p is. So the p is the percent that's in the problem, so the mean of p is also going to be the percent that's in the problem. Then you're going to do the standard deviation of p hat, and the formula for that is that you're going to have the square root of the percent, and then the complement of the percent, 1 minus p, divided by n. And you're going to calculate that out. And then part C is going to be, you're going to find the probability. And here you have to pay attention to if it's a greater than or a less than. On the Alex calculator, you're always doing P of Z is less than. If in the problem it's a greater than, then you have to do 1 minus. So I'm going to do a problem like that so you can see how that works out. And so here's my sample problem here. I'm not sure if you can read that very well or not. But it says, the empirical research on the stock market data for 2 consecutive trading days indicates that 50% of the stocks that went up on the first day also went up on the second day. Yesterday, 400 stocks went up. Find the mean of p hat, where p hat gives the proportion of the 400 stocks that went up yesterday that will go up today. So for that answer, it's going to be the same as the percent that's in the problem. In this case, it's 50%. And so you're going to use 50% as a decimal. And so you're going to use 0.5 for that answer. Then you're going to find the standard deviation of p hat. To find the standard deviation of p hat, you're going to use the formula, the square root of whatever this percent is, which is 50%, times 1 minus that, which in this case would also be 50%, over n, and the n is the 400. I'm going to pull up the Alex calculator here and move this over so you can see the Alex calculator. So we are going to do the square root of 0.5 parenthesis 1 minus 0.5, close my parenthesis, and then I want this part here highlighted, and that's going to be divided by the 400. So it will look like that when you do the Alex calculator. Let me zoom in there a bit. And so then when I hit enter on that, I get 0.025. So over here on my paper, the answer to the second part of that question when I did my calculation was 0.025. Part C then says, compute an approximation for the probability of p hat being greater than 0.46, which is the probability that more than 46% of the stocks that went up yesterday will go up again today. So, because on Alex z is less than, we have to do 1 minus p of z is less than. P hat, which is going to be the 0.46, minus the p-value, which was the 0.5, the 50%, over the standard deviation, which was the answer to the part B, 0.025. So I'm going to see if I put that in the Alex calculator, if I can do that all at once. I think I should be able to. And so, let me slide this over to the Alex calculator. We are going to do 1 minus the p of z is less than or equal to. Since on Alex it's always less than or equal to. If you have a greater than, you've got to do the 1 minus. And then I'm going to have my 0.46 minus my 0.5. I'm going to highlight that part of it and divide that by the 0.025. And so if I hit equal there, my answer to 4 decimal places is 0.9452. 0.9452 is then going to be my answer to my part C question, 0.9452. All right. So if I pull up one more here, let me hit more practice. I'm going to see if I can find one with a less than instead of a greater than. Maybe they all are greater thans. Oh, there, I found one that has a less than. Okay. So, I'm going to put this over here so you can see the question, and then I'll move it back to the paper. But it says here, a minority representation group accuses a major bank of racial discrimination in its recent hires for the financial analyst. Exactly 12% of all applications were from minority members, and exactly 10% of the 1,650 open positions were filled by members of the minority. Find the mean of p hat, where p hat is the proportion of the minority member applications in the random sample of 1,650 that is drawn from all applicants. So here was the 12% that was from all applicants, and so over here it's going to be 12%, and so I'm going to just put my 12% in there. I really don't have to do any calculation on that. Part B, find the standard deviation of P. So if I'm going to find the standard deviation of P, again, I'm going to go over to my scratch paper here. If I'm going to find my standard deviation of P, there's my formula. I am going to do the square root of P, which was 0.12, and then 1 minus P, so 1 minus 0.12, over n, which was my 1,650. So that's going to be the calculation I'm going to do. I'm going to go back over here and bring up the Alex calculator. And so I'm going to do the square root of 0.12 parenthesis 1 minus 0.12, close my parenthesis, highlight the part that's under the square root, divide that by n, which was my 1,650. And so if I hit equal there, I get 0.008. 0.008. I'm going to write that down, 0.008. All right. So the next part of this question, if I move my calculator out of the way, says compute an approximation for the probability of p hat being less than or equal to that 10%, which is the probability that there will be 10% or fewer minority member applications in my random sample of 1,650. So since this one is a less than or equal to, we're using just the P of Z is less than or equal to. I don't have to do the 1 minus on that because it wasn't a greater than, it is a less than. So I'm doing the P of Z is less than or equal to. In this case, my P hat is the 10% minus my normal P value, which was my 12%, over my standard deviation, which was the 0.008. And so that's the calculation I'm going to do on my Alex calculator. And so if I clear that out, I'm just going to do the P of Z is less than or equal to, and then I'm going to have my 10% minus my 12%, and that's going to be over the standard deviation, 0.008. And if I hit equal then to 4 decimal places, I get 0.0062. 0.0062 then should be my answer. If I check my answer, I got it correct. So, just watch that. If this is a less than or equal to begin with, then I just use the P of Z. If it's a greater than or equal to, then I have to do the 1 minus P of Z.